to know what the heck is going on here. Can somebody explain that to me?
Have you heard about the man who went hunting at night and saw something bone-chilling in his night vision camera? There was a guy who went hunting in East Texas with some friends at night for hogs, and they split up. He went and set up his area and was looking down his night scope, couldn't find anything, so he decided to switch spots. So he moved from one tree to a different tree. He set up, his scope and all of that, and he's looking down and he sees in the scope a heat signature. So he assumes, it's either going to be a hog or another animal. At first, he thinks it's a bear because it's on all fours and it's larger than a hog, until it gets a little closer and he sees it's a human. A human man, completely naked, on all fours, sniffing the ground where this hunter was previously sitting. He's sniffing the area and it looks like he's trying to catch a scent of where this guy went. And the hunter said he's just watching this person do this, and then he turns and looks directly down the scope at the hunter. The hunter said that he watched this man turn and look toward the sky, and it looked like he was going to howl, and instead he heard, "Help me. I'm hurt. Help me." But it wasn't a man's voice, it was a woman's voice coming out of this man. He said that this person on the ground kept screaming, help me, I'm hurt, please," in a woman's voice. And he didn't know what to do, so he fired off a warning shot, right over this person's head. It took off in one direction, and he took off in the other direction. He ran all the way back to his truck.
Wait a minute. So he took a shot right over this person's head? So he was like willingly trying to commit murder? I mean, what? Who does this? I don't even know.
Got in and left, and he has no clue what he witnessed, and he doesn't want to.
Ben's Big Load. Ben's Big Load by Kinsey Mazing. This is Ben. He's been carrying around a huge load for weeks. He needs to drop his load soon before it starts to leak. No matter how hard he tries, he can't seem to let it go. He wishes he could just release it and watch his huge load float. He tried to drop his load off at Susie's place last week, but when he brought it by, she said, "Not here, your load reeks." His load is overbearing. He's filled up to the brim. He needs to dump his load soon, or it might be the end of him. His friends can tell.
So, sorry, you guys. These are not for children, by the way, just to clarify all of that. I keep finding these videos in my algorithm, and this, I think, is hilarious.
He's hurting. They see that something is wrong. They ask Ben about his load and why he's been waiting so long. "I have nowhere to dump it," he says. "Every place I try says no. Do you guys have any suggestions? Where do you let your loads go?" "I just release it any place at any time. I don't care where I release my load. Is that really a crime?" "Yes, sir. Yes, that is a crime. I just released my load at my ex-wife's last night. She's always down to take it as long as I get out of her sight." "I released my load at Jim's. He can take quite a fill.
These
Maybe
are
you
brutal.
can ask him. He lives right up the hill." Ben decides to try it. What does he have to lose? He grabs his coat after finishing up his booze. "Hey, Jim, how's it going, man? I have a favor to ask. I've got a huge load, and I need to dump it fast." "Well, it's going to cost you. You can't just dump it for free. If I let you release your load here, what's in it for me?" Man, look at Jim. Jim is sassy. I like Jim. He's giving off Darcy vibes, like Jer and Darcy. Do we know who I'm talking about? I love Jim. "Just name a price, my man. Anything at all. At this point, I'm desperate. I have no one else to call." "Okay, you can release it here. There's just one condition. If you tell anyone, you might wind up missing." I loving the hand on that. Just Jim is a vibe. Ben agreed to that. He knew what needed to be done. He released his load so fast the load nearly weighed a ton. What the fuck?
Stop it.
Ben felt so much better. He could finally relax. He now knew where he could go the next time he was filled to the max. He loves Jim now.
I'm not doing this for anybody. I don't care how much money. What's going on there? When is he gonna come up for air? Okay? He just disappeared? Like, what's going on right now? Look at all the bubbles! What is he doing? What? Did he get a fish? Okay, what's going on here?
This guy, Andrew, emailed me and he was like, I saw your crazy roommate story. I have to tell you mine. When I read the details of this email, my jaw was on the floor. It's disgusting. You cannot make this stuff up. 5 or 6 years ago, Andrew moves out of his parents' house. He's getting his first apartment. He meets a guy on Craigslist and they move in together. He said he really needed to move out at that point in his life because he's one of 7 children. Money was tight, space was tight. So like he had no other options. So Mark is his Craigslist roommate. Mark is off the bat really quiet, really awkward, really shy. They actually don't end up talking much, but like it's not a bad roommate situation. Like Mark's pretty respectful. They greet each other when they pass each other, but like don't really have a friendship or a relationship. Andrew's living there for 5 months with no problems when things start to get weird. One night, Andrew's getting home and he gets a text from Mark saying that Mark is going to be out of the apartment tonight. So he doesn't think anything of it. He doesn't respond, leaves him on read, and he goes into his room, turns on his PC, puts on his headphones and starts playing video games. And he's playing games for like an hour when he feels somebody touch his shoulder and he jumps and turns around because he doesn't expect anyone to be there and Mark's standing there. So Andrew jumps and he turns around and he's like, I'm sorry, like I didn't think you were going to be home tonight. You just scared me. And Mark's just like, why would I not be at home? I'm always home at night. And Andrew's like, well, you texted me that you weren't going to be here. And Mark's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So Andrew doesn't think anything of it because he thinks he just like read the text in a weird way, or maybe it was written in a weird way. And Mark goes to bed. And then an hour later, Andrew goes to bed. While he's asleep, he wakes up to the sound of something shattering in the kitchen. So he runs out. He thought that maybe Mark just broke a dish or something, but he sees Mark sitting on the floor in the kitchen, self-harming with pieces of a plate. So he starts screaming at Mark. He's like, what are you doing? And Mark just looks at him very calmly and he's like, what does it look like? Andrew's like freaking out. So he turns all the lights on. He's like trying to talk him out of it. Mark puts the plate down and basically just says like, I don't want to talk about it. Then he gets really mad at Andrew and he's like, you know what? Next time I'm just going to use a knife since all you care about is your dishes anyway. He gets up, he storms past Andrew, goes to his room and like slams the door. Andrew decided to text him to be like, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk anymore? And Mark just responds, yeah, like YEA, yeah. Andrew could barely sleep. The whole thing was extremely disturbing to him because Mark had never been rude, never been weird, never been aggressive. So he's just like totally out of pocket with what to do. He tries to talk to Mark again the next day and Mark is like dismissive of the whole thing and basically treats Andrew's concern like a joke. So Andrew decides that if he does anything else, he's going to call 911, but this time he's just going to respect Mark and say that he was having like a depressive or like manic episode. A week later, Andrew is studying at his desk. His door's open and he turns to look and he sees Mark standing at the doorway of his room. And his eyes are weird. They're like glazed over, not focused, but he can tell he's looking at him and his mouth's open. So Andrew's like, do you need anything? And Mark just like makes a wet smacking noise with his lips. So Andrew's talking to him and he's not acknowledging anything Andrew's saying. And he just keeps making this sound and like he's just standing there for like 15 minutes and Andrew's like getting really freaked out and really uncomfortable naturally. So Andrew gets up and like literally pushes him out of the doorway and closes the door. And Mark's just standing there like still making the noise. And Andrew's like really disturbed. So he goes and he calls his friend who tells him that he needs to call to get Mark evaluated for like mental health issues. And then he calls his brother and his brother's like, no, don't do that because you're going to lose your roommate. He's like, if he's paying rent and everything's good, just like let him be. A month goes by. Mark is still acting weird, but Andrew said like most things were like too small to mention and he wasn't necessarily a victim. Like Mark would stay out all night. He wouldn't come out of his room. He would just act weird and erratic around the apartment. But the final straw comes one night when Andrew wakes up to use the bathroom and he goes in the bathroom, turns on the lights and finds Mark eating his own feces out of the toilet. Andrew freaks out naturally, screams at him, calls him a freak, and he said looking back it was really harsh, but he was just so shocked in the moment. And everything else that Mark had been doing just really made him blow up. And Mark just looks at him and tells him to grow a pair. And Mark goes back to doing what he was doing. And Andrew's so freaked out that he packs a bag and he leaves to go get a hotel that night. He calls him in the morning. He's like, I don't want to be roommates with you anymore. Like, you need to move out. And Mark starts crying on the phone. He's like begging him not to kick him out. And a few hours later, he's like, okay, I'll leave. And Andrew also ended up switching apartments because he said he just didn't feel safe anymore. A week after they break the lease and move out, he finds out that Mark has attacked someone at a train station. The person he attacked retaliated and Mark was unalived by his wounds. There's a little more to the story. The details are very graphic, so I couldn't include them because it's TikTok. But Andrew ended his email by saying that he has actually blamed himself a few times for Mark's unaliving. And he suspects that he was acting that way because of schmugs and that he really wishes that he had called someone sooner. Andrew will be seeing the comments, so be nice. And keep sending me your creepy, crazy, spooky story times, and I will keep posting them in this playlist.
That's crazy.
I have polls on my Insta every day of which story you guys want to hear next, so follow me there.
What a fantastic space. Obviously, it's all been cleared out at some point, not particularly in fantastic condition, but structurally, I'm looking for any huge cracks that might be a major concern. Don't know at first glance. Looks okay. And just, wow. Wow, wow, wow.
You know how they say if you hear a knock on your door at night, not to open the door, especially if you're not expecting company? I am back with another spooky story. And this one is a submission from Atlanta, Georgia. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Tasha. Now, Tasha says that she's never been involved in like the dark and the mysterious stuff, never into the spooky things, never even really believed that those things exist. Tasha also wasn't overly religious. She believes in a higher power, she believes in a God, and would occasionally go to church. So Tasha had moved into this house in Green Meadows, Georgia, and she had been living there for about 2 years. The first 2 years, she never really experienced anything weird, except for, hearing things in the bushes, but also those could be animals, but just hearing weird animals, but overall, really nothing. So Tasha has 2 kids. She has a boy and a girl. The boy is about 5 years old, and the little girl is even younger. So one night, they're all chilling in the house, minding their own business, when suddenly Tasha hears a knock on the door. Tasha is not expecting company or anything, but it's not strange that somebody would come knocking on the door. The only thing that was strange was the time, knowing that her neighbors don't live that close to her, and if anything, her neighbors could call her. But somebody's at the door, so Tasha approaches the door. She looks through the peephole and doesn't see anybody. She doesn't see anybody, so she's like, maybe somebody's just trying to play a game. So she starts to walk away from the door when she hears the door knocks again. So she walks back towards the door, goes back to the peephole, still does not see anybody. She asks, who is it? Who is knocking on the door? And then she hears the voice of a child. And Tasha's confused and concerned at who would leave their child outside at this time.
Right.
Now, she's used to the kids in the neighborhood playing around, but around this time it's dark outside, and it's also getting a little bit colder. So there's no reason that the kids should be outside. So Tasha opens the door, and in front of her door standing is a little girl. Said the little girl was a black girl with an afro, and she was wearing this dress and some shoes. So she opens the door and she says, oh, hello. Obviously actually shocked to see a child. So she starts asking the kid, are you lost? Like, do you need help? The little girl is standing there staring at her, not saying anything. Tasha is asking her 1,000,001 questions. She gets down to her knees to get to her level so they can talk. Has your parents abandoned you? Do you need help? Do you need me to call somebody? Are you cold? When suddenly the little girl points to inside her house and initiates that she wants to come inside. This little girl is not saying any words at all. Tasha didn't want to leave this little girl outside by herself, so she decided she agreed. She let her come inside the house. She lets the little girl inside her house. She closes the door, and then her son comes out from the back to see what's going on. And the little girl looked no older than about 6 years old. So when Tasha heard her son coming around, she's just like, okay, well, perfect. Except once the son saw the little girl, he had such an overt reaction that Natasha had never seen from him before. This little boy started screaming off the top of his head. He screamed so much, he just ran straight into the other room. So Tasha and the little girl are still standing by the entrance while her son just ran into the other room screaming in hysterics. Tasha doesn't want to leave the little girl here by herself, but she's still wondering what is going on with her son. So he said, give me a minute, I'm gonna see what's going on with my son. And we all would have to basically drive you down to a precinct. Again, the little girl did not say anything. Tasha walks over to go get her son. Her son had locked himself in the bathroom. When she finally gets inside of the bathroom, her son expresses to her. The son said, Mommy, why are you talking to a dead person? And Tasha's like, what? And he's like, that little girl is dead. How do you not see it? She has a dead face and her eyes are sunken in. Her son are describing all these things that Tasha just did not see. So Tasha just decides, let me just go back to the front and just check out this little girl because
I'm scared. I'm scared, y'all. I don't like it.
Maybe my son has a extensive imagination. Well, Tasha gets back to the front where she last left the little girl, and the little girl is gone. She searches all around the house for this little girl, and she was nowhere to be found. And the whole time she was in the bathroom and her son was describing all of this, she didn't hear a single pin drop. She didn't hear the door open. She didn't hear anything. That little girl that she had just let inside her house had disappeared. And Tasha said that after that day, she would go on to have so many weird things happen in her life that she's starting to think that her son might have been right. Because the amount of freaky stuff that she started going through directly after that, she's starting to think that the dark and mysterious might be real. That night, she pretty much convinced herself that maybe the little girl did leave through the front door and she just didn't hear anything. And she did try to let her mind rest. If you're you guys want to know everything that happened in Tasha's life, because she sent me a couple of stories, let me know and I will make more videos about that. I love you, my abducted humans. While you're here, please make sure you follow me on Instagram just so that I know that it's real. Duh. And subscribe to my YouTube channel also so that I know that it's real. Duh. And so you can get longer, better, spookier stories. And I'm also going to be a nursing. Yeah, you get it. I love you, my abducted humans, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Are aliens already here? Yes or no?
Oh, sure. I mean, there have been non-human extraterrestrial civilizations that have been observing the planet for thousands of years, and it increased remarkably once we detonated the first atomic bomb. There's no question about that.
What?
In fact, this particular team coming forward have dealt with the remains and on occasion living non-human life forms that have been downed, and some are still in captivity in subterranean facilities or stiffs.
Are you hearing that?
Dr. Greer feels like, and you answered my other question, it feels like right now the public worldwide is being primed for something. You know, for the last 50 years, we've had movies about aliens. Going back to Roswell, we've had reports of flying saucers. And now people, not just in northern New Jersey, are seeing strange things in the sky. It seems like these beings are technologically far superior.
How many bodies did you recover?
There were no bodies. No tissue residue. Not even DNA could be recovered from the site.
Don't fucking stop! So in your
y'all.
could this have
And
been
I'm
bad?
hearing all types of noises outside. No.
No, absolutely not.
This began March 13th of 1997 during the single most controversial UFO sighting in North America.
In 1997, you took part in one of the largest military cover-ups in United States history.
That's correct.
And this involved a direct engagement with extraterrestrial craft.
Congress doesn't even know if this happened.
It would eventually become known as the Phoenix Lights.
And as a result of this operation, force
Do y'all think this is real?
civilian men became collateral damage.
The government would explain this away as a military operation, but a man who was a part of that operation would provide footage that showed a different story.
Okay, we've got 4 civilians heading in 230. Multiple contacts north of that position.
It would also show the fate of 4 men who went missing that same night.
We could see him on scope. There
What
was
is this
nothing else
crap?
we could do for him. It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
This one is called The Phoenix Incident. It is an awesome mockumentary-style horror film, and if you would like to watch it for yourself, take that onto Google and have at it.
Oh.
This is not an AI rendering. My mom's cousin's daughter sent this picture to my mom that she saw randomly on a post on Facebook of just old photographs. And she sent it to me. I thought she was joking around and that this was AI, but no. 1 second. Here's a side-by-side. We have the same eyes. We have the same nose. We have the same smirk, the same body type. Look at our eyebrows. What is happening? I need to know who this is. I looked this picture up on Google Lens, and the only thing that I saw was a Reddit post saying that this was their grandma from 1910. I don't know how serious they were. And there was a post about Lily Duffy, maiden name Lily Nay Greer or something like that. Don't know the validity of these sources, but I'm not the only one seeing this, right? Do your thing. Whoever knows who this is, please reach out to me. I need to know who this is. I'm deathly ill right now and I'm making this video anyway because this is just
fake.
Insane.
This is fake.
And kind of creepy.
I grew up in a haunted house and the party's over. So I've been sitting and stewing on this all day about what to post today, considering now we have official news that the ban is coming. It's gonna happen. TikTok is gonna go dark.
It already happened and it's done.
On Sunday. And I know people are saying that the incoming presidency, the incoming cabinet is probably gonna save it, but I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Okay. So what do you have to say?
I'm pretty sure it's done, but I hope I am wrong. With that said, I'm going to go out on a limb and hope that my community is what I think it is. And I've met a lot of you people on this app, and it's been cool. You guys are awesome. And I really enjoy like the community that I have here and what I built. So please follow me everywhere. I am on YouTube. I am on Instagram. I am on Blue Sky. I am on Twitter. I am on Threads.
What they don't tell you is when you go to donate blood or give your DNA for something, that they use it for other things, not just what you originally went in for. Mm-hmm. And when you transition, they steal a lot of people's organs. Mm-hmm. Baby, burn me to a crisp.
Right.
Every piece of flab inside and out. Cremate me and dump me back into the sea. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be buried, and I don't want to be in no damn urn. Let me go. Leave me alone. I done graduated from this karmic land, okay? Okay. The movie Get Out is real. They've been doing these things for years. They have been studying and watching us for years. Y'all ever heard or read about how they shut people up in rooms for a extended amount of days and put headphones on their ears and make them to watch clips and videos over and over and over again? That's real. Handlers are real. Oh, and how you thought that you had privacy? You don't.
No.
All those electronic devices in your home are monitors.
One of the excuses she would always tell me is that she going to Target to return some stuff. Nah, I didn't pay too much attention to it, even though every time she went to Target, she'd be gone for 3 or 4 hours. I always ask her, hey, why you be at Target so long if you just had to return something? She say she'd just lose track of time. She'd have her Starbucks and be walking around and lose track of time. Okay, cool. That really didn't press an issue until she started going to Target every Saturday, and doing the same thing, being gone for 3 or 4 hours. Now, I started catching on because it was every Saturday, and every time she did not have a Starbucks cup with her. I will also check our account to see any transactions, and no purchases, nothing. She didn't purchase any Starbucks. So I confronted her.
See, I don't know what's going on with these females, but this is how men who habitually cheat are created, because they cannot trust women. This is ridiculous. I don't understand the purpose behind it.
Her about it. I said, hey, I know you've been going to Target a lot. You say you get lost at Starbucks, but I don't see you with any Starbucks. She got real defensive, and she said, I deserve me some me time. Everybody deserves some time to themselves. Plus, Chris will miss me. Now, what? I really didn't think too hard about it, because, yeah.
Wait a minute. What do you think you really didn't think too hard about it? Because what? She just said Chris will miss her. This is a guy that you're... Chris... I mean, yeah, some females are named Chris, but come on. Come on.
Everybody do need some me time. But when she said Chris will miss me, that kind of hit me, because who is Chris? So I asked her,
Chris?
Who is Chris? And she said Chris is the guy that works at Starbucks, and that he'd miss her if she stopped showing up. So that got me to thinking.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? That got me to thinking. What you need to be thinking about is the divorce papers.
Because, oh, you going to Starbucks to see somebody. So, I'm not proud of it. But since she was so defensive of it, and she mentioned the name Chris, and I haven't seen her phone lately, I purchased the AirTag. And I put it in the lining of her purse. So after that, Saturday crept up once again. And just like routine, my wife told me she was going to go to Target. So, I checked the location. And like she said, she did go to Target.
Oh, she did?
For about 10 minutes.
Oh.
After that, she left and went to some apartment complex. So
You know what she got from Target.
Got my keys and I went to that apartment complex. And I just hoped when I went to the front office, they would let me go. So I got to the front office. I explained to them the situation. Apparently they know Chris, and Chris is a real butthole to the office staff. So they went ahead and let me in and led me to his apartment. I get to the apartment. The bedroom door is cracked open. I hear some noises going on. I take out my phone to record. They end up doing the deed. I get about 30 seconds worth. Start recording and I leave.
30 seconds. That is enough torture, buddy. What are you doing? 5 seconds, 10 seconds would have been enough. 30.
I don't stop them. I don't burst in. I don't do none of that. I just leave. I'm on my way home now. Now, I am shocked because I'm thinking, I know I tried my damn best to be a great husband. See, I know I'm not the easiest man to be with because I was in the Marine Corps. I'm a retired Marine veteran. I was diagnosed with PTSD and a TBI. So I know I can be difficult sometimes. But I went through therapy, and I've been trying my damn best to be a great husband to my wife. So I'm hurt by this. I get home. I wait on her. I'm in one of my moods. She gets there. She sees me. She sees me in one of my moods. Okay. Now, normally, she would come to me, see what's going on, try to help me out, try to help me through it. But this day, she seen me. She said, "Oh, you're in one of your moods. I'll let you figure it out." And leaves. She left and went to take a shower. When I get in one of my moods, I usually shut down and she usually tries to help, but she left to go take a shower. Said, "I'll figure it out." I shut down completely. I shut down until Monday. That all happened on Saturday. I went back up until Monday when I could speak to a divorce lawyer. I talked to the lawyer, showed him the video, told him the story. He said, "I get this ready for you in a week."
Good.
Great. Well, 1 week turned into 3 because he got sick, but no biggie. Now, over these 3 weeks, though, my wife started back acting normal. She went back to normal. She wouldn't go on to Target on Saturdays. She was trying to be helpful when she could. The only thing I could think of is that the affair ended. But I couldn't be quite sure. I wasn't 100% sure. That's the only thing I could think of. But once those papers were drawn up over those 3 weeks, I handed her the divorce papers. She acted shocked. She was like, "Why? Why are you doing this?" I showed her the video. She was shocked again. But that shock soon got overcome by anger. She was like, "Why were you following me? Why would you even record this?" And then she said, "Well, you don't have to worry about this anymore. Things can just go back to normal because he ended it. Things can go back to normal."
Are you crazy?
What? I'm thinking to myself, what? Things can go back to normal. He ended it. Now, on hand, I do love my wife. I love her. But that 30-second video is burned engraved into my mind.
Right.
So I'm stuck between moving along or going through with the divorce. I really don't know what to do. So if you see this, I'm asking for some advice because I don't know what I should do now.
Y'all need to go ahead and leave a comment below on this story here because I'm going to go back and I'm going to show him all the comments on what he needs to do. Everybody knows what he needs to do. I mean, come on. You already know. You know.
I'm going to tell you the ghost story of Mary Shaw, the ill-fated ventriloquist. And our story starts about 83 years ago in 1941 in the small town of Ravensfair. Now, it's a Friday night and the entire town has assembled in the local theater. And this is a theater they spent a lot of money to build. It's ornate, quite beautifully crafted, and people are there to enjoy the show from the local ventriloquist Mary Shaw. Now, Mary Shaw is a bit of a local celebrity there in Ravensfair. She's known for doing these very extravagant shows with her ventriloquist dummies. They speak to the audience. They can hide within the audience, like under chairs and stuff. And so she's really popular amongst the townspeople. No. But of course, there's always an asshole in the audience. And on this particular evening, the local asshole was a boy named Michael Ashen. Now, Michael Ashen came from a very good family, very wealthy, very well-to-do, and super well-connected. And while Mary Shaw was going on with her doll, Billy, he decided that it was a perfect time to call her out for the farce of it all. Just basically saying it was fake, he could see her talking, just generally being very disrespectful, but keep in mind, still very much a kid. Now, while Michael Michael is acting a fool in the audience and still being very disrespectful, I might add. Mary is on the stage witnessing all of it, and you can hear a pin drop in the audience because people just can't believe the audacity of this kid to call out one of the performers so publicly, and it is rude. Now on stage, Mary is looking at Michael and she's communicating, and she's basically saying, no, this is definitely real. There's always a skeptic, but as this is happening and she's talking, Billy the doll, her dummy, is also talking with her. So although Michael called her out for voicing Billy, pictured on the right here, how could it be that the both of them were talking at once? And basically, Billy was saying that he was upset because Michael did not believe that he was in fact a real boy and that he was just as real as Michael. Very Pinocchio in a way, but it got kind of heated and it got a little bit freaky. And again, the audience was already dead silent because this kid had disrespected the performer, but things really got tense when Mary and the doll were talking at the same time. Now keep in mind, for anybody who goes to a movie, watches TV, goes to Broadway performances, there's this willing suspension of disbelief. So for the adults in the audience, they're aware of the fact that Billy the doll should not be talking,
right,
and that it would be just Mary. Now the kids might not be aware of that, but the adults definitely were. So it's shocking to an audience when the doll, who's supposed to be voiced one at a time along with his human, is talking concurrently with his human. So very tense, very strange situation, but the audience seemed to take it really well. They were in awe of the performance. Mary got a standing ovation. But after Michael's outburst, you could tell there was just some sort of odd shift between Michael and Mary, where Mary was hyper-focused on Michael, and Michael, being a kid, just went back to enjoying the show. But strange things happened after that event took place, because shortly after that, Michael goes missing, and nobody could find him. In fact, his family, again, very well-to-do, had put up a $5,000 reward. Now, this is $5,000 in 1941. So today, that would be the equivalent of about $108,000. So that's not a piece of chump change. But Michael was never found, sadly. Now, like I mentioned, Ravens Fair is a very small town, and it didn't take long for that rumor mill to start going, and there was only one suspect on everybody's lips: Mary Shaw. Now, remember how I told you that Michael Ashen, the boy who had challenged Mary publicly, was well-connected, well-to-do, and extremely wealthy? Yeah. So what his father did was gather up all of the other good old boys in the town, and they went to handle Mary off the clock. And they did so in one of the most violent and excruciating ways you can think of. They forced her to open her mouth and scream, then they cut her tongue out, and then they unalived her, quite graphically. And that was it for Mary Shaw. The end of the story. Now, despite the accusations that Mary had killed Michael, there were still some really kind people in the town of Ravens Fair, to include the local mortician. Now, Mary, upon her death, had a will, and it was discovered in her will that she had a couple of demands. The first is that all 101 of her dolls be buried alongside of her. The mortician made sure that happened. The second was that Mary also wanted to become a doll herself. So, despite the strange request, the mortician ensured that she got her last wish. They buried her, and that should have been the end of the story, except for the fact that it wasn't. And that's because a couple of weeks later, all of those who participated in Mary's murder started to die one by one. And not only did they start to die, but their wives started to die. And then their children started to die. It was as though Mary had cursed those who participated in her death. But not only did she curse those directly responsible for her murder, but she appeared to curse their families in perpetuity. So that meant their children died, and then their children died, so on and so forth, until you get to a point that many of the families who grew up there and had roots there sent their children away in an attempt to escape this curse. Now, most of these families weren't successful and would end up dying anyways, but this eventual flight from Ravenstown would eventually lead to its decline and overall desolation, but not without some lingering rumors around. In fact, Mary Shaw would eventually become an urban legend in and of herself, and they came up with this cute little rhyme for her, and it was best for those to abide by it. Some would even go so far as to not speak her name, period. And I'm just going to read the rhyme. So, beware the stare of Mary Shaw. She had no children, only dolls, and if you see her in your sleep,
Be sure you never ever scream. Now, it does appear that this macabre nursery rhyme has some standing because all of the families that fled Raven's Fair would end up dying in a very similar manner. According to the local mortician, who had often serviced the bodies of these deceased family members after they were brought back from wherever they were, they all had the same expression, a wide open mouth with their tongues ripped out, as though somebody had cut it out. Anyways, let me know if you've heard the tale of Mary Shaw before, what you think happened to Michael Ashen, the boy in question, and I'll see you guys in my next video.
That's crazy. That's it. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.